I was in the gym earlier today, and lately I've been trying a different approach. I push myself pretty hard, do as many sets of an exercise as I can, and just push myself to failure. And I was working on my shoulders. Right now it's actually pretty hard to hold this camera and gimbal because, I was working this. But anyway, I was pushing myself and I was getting to the point of failure where my shoulder was burning and I started laughing. And the reason I started laughing was because this is the first time in a while that I've pushed myself beyond what I know I'm capable of. Before I was pushing myself, well, not really pushing myself. I was working within the limits of what I know I can do. I know I can do 3 sets of 10 of a particular weight. Yeah, light work. But lately, I've been doing something that I haven't done in a long time, which is pushing myself to a point where I'm struggling and pushing through that barrier of struggle, pushing myself to a point that I am not sure I'm capable of. And once you do the thing you're not sure you can do, it feels good. And this is my segue into where the next millionaire in Malawi is going to come from. You don't need to be a millionaire to live a good life. You only need to have fulfillment in your work or do something that fulfills your purpose. Doing purposeful work, being an asset to your community, having loving friends and family. I think those are the 3 things you really need just to be happy in life. But if you want to be a millionaire, you need to push yourself harder than you've ever pushed yourself before, especially in a small economy like Malawi. Now, this is a video on the steps you need to take to become a millionaire. Now, before we can discuss how to become a millionaire, we must first define what a millionaire is. And at this juncture, I would like to implore my peers and viewers from countries such as Malawi, Zambia, South Africa, Kenya, and any other country with a Mickey Mouse currency to please be serious and not use your home currency in your definition of a millionaire. Let us use US dollars because that is the standard for a stable currency, and also the value doesn't change every other week. So, what is a millionaire? A millionaire is an individual who has assets and cash worth $1 million, excluding their primary place of residence. So, if you have $900,000 of cash and some assets, and your house is worth $400,000, technically you have $1.3 million worth of cash and assets, but you are not a millionaire because if your primary place of residence is that $400,000 house, it's not included in the definition of a millionaire. You need to have assets in excess of $1 million, excluding where you live. Now that we got that out the way, we can talk about how people become millionaires. Broadly speaking, there are 2 pathways to becoming a millionaire. One is your cumulative earnings, i.e. the money you have earned minus the money that you have spent in a given time period. And 2 is equity, i.e. your ownership of a business or businesses. How do you accumulate earnings? It could be through entrepreneurship, so starting a business yourself and the earnings you earn through that business. It could be through career advancement, so the salary you gain from working for someone else's business and climbing up the corporate ladder, gaining a higher salary as you go along. It could be through your dividends earned from investing in PLCs, public limited companies on the stock exchange, dividend payments from that. It could be through buying properties and earning rentals from them. So these are ways that you could accumulate your income. There is also the equity side of things. So how do you accumulate equity? The fastest way is starting a business yourself that is able to run without you. If it is a business that you need to be there for in order for the business to make a profit, and there is no system in place for it to operate without you, then it's unlikely that the business is going to be worth anything without you. So the fastest way for the business to become a real business and accumulate a value that is significant is for you to develop a system so that the business can operate without you, because that's the value of the business. That's where the real value lies. If it's something that can only operate with you in it, it is not really a valuable business. You are a valuable asset to the business, but the business itself can only be valuable when it operates independently. And if you happen to invest in other companies and their share value goes up, then that will reflect in your net worth also increasing. The same goes for real estate. If the assets that you hold also appreciate in value, your net worth increases. Now, that is the easy bit. The tricky bit is figuring out how to become a millionaire in a country such as Malawi, where we have faced currency devaluation, there is high inflation, it is a low income economy. How does one become a millionaire in such circumstances? Well, here is the beauty of this. Where there is crisis, there is also opportunity. Malawi is a country that's recently gone through a currency devaluation. What does the devaluation of the currency mean? It means that imports are going to be more expensive. It also means that people are going to be more open to substitutes for those imports. Why do we import so much? Because there isn't much of a manufacturing industry in Malawi. There is your opportunity. If you were to start a company that manufactures goods that people are looking for, that were once imported or are still imported but are more expensive now, and if you can come in at the level that that good was being supplied at previously, then there's a potential market there. However, we have to acknowledge the strengths and weaknesses of the country. One of the reasons why there are few manufacturers there in the first place is because the cost of manufacturing in Malawi is expensive relative to neighboring countries. Why is it expensive? Well, while we do have cheap labor relative to our neighbors, we don't have a lot of skilled labor. So it's hard to find people who are skilled in using equipment. The second thing is the cost of the capital itself. Bringing it into Malawi, because one, we are landlocked, two, the import duty is pretty high, three, the roads are terrible, so it spends more time in transit. So, well, I've heard that the import duty has been reduced on capital goods, but let me know if that's true or not in the comments below. The other thing is, because of the inconsistent electricity supply, manufacturers often have to hire generators or buy generators, diesel generators, in order to fill those gaps in power supply. And diesel generators, or generators in general, plus the fuel, are expensive to get and to run. So that's another reason why manufacturing is expensive. However, if you can get into an industry where the costs may be lower, then there is an opportunity there. For example, garment manufacturing, you don't necessarily need generators to do that. You can use old-timely equipment in order to manufacture garments. I think cotton gins and sewing machines don't necessarily need electricity. You're at an advantage if you can produce them with electricity, but you don't necessarily need electricity. And also, if we're going into food manufacturing, we import pasta from South Africa, Zambia, Egypt, but that is something that could be made in Malawi. You don't necessarily need all that much equipment in order to do that at a high level. What you really need is egg and wheat and some kind of heating equipment, to put it all together, and also the pasta making machine. but that is not something that is capital intensive per se, not in the sense that you need high levels of technology to do. So if you can get into manufacturing where you don't need all that much capital in terms of the equipment itself, then you might be onto something there. I mean, one of the first millionaires or billionaires in Asia was the guy who invented instant noodles. So there's something to be said about that type of food manufacturing if it were to occur in Malawi. Another thing is services. Again, one of the reasons why there aren't that many businesses in Malawi at the moment is the amount of bureaucracy that goes into or is involved with starting a business. If you're starting a business, you're going to have to go through about 14 hoops just to get that place open. Now, where is the opportunity in that? If you were an agency that handles all the bureaucracy on behalf of your clients, there's an opportunity there. Although, of course, that requires a skill set and patience in order to be able to deal with all these different government institutions. So, I believe the next millionaires in Malawi are going to be people who invest heavily in manufacturing and services. But now we have to talk about the biggest hurdle when it comes to starting a business in Malawi. Some of you are screaming at your screens, I don't have the financial backing. Others of you are there like, I have the money, but I didn't earn it legitimately. How am I going to start a business with this without alerting ACB? Well, here's your solution. If you happen to have some money stashed in your ceiling or in your mattress and you don't know what to do with it, how about you make friends with that guy with the entrepreneurial spirit who doesn't have the financial backing, and you'll be able to start something together, and for a fee, if you're willing to give up 20% of that money that you didn't earn, I mean, you should be willing to. I mean, you didn't actually do any work to get it. So if you are willing to give up a percentage of that for it to come out on the other side nice and clean, then hey, why not? Why not? There's a solution for you. In all seriousness though, I do genuinely believe that the next person to become a millionaire is someone who is willing and able to cut through the bureaucracy and all the challenges associated with setting up a business in Malawi, particularly in services or in manufacturing. There is a lot of risk associated with it, but that in and of itself is the advantage you have, because not many people are willing to take the risk. So that is an opportunity. If you are able to take the risk, there is a lot of reward on the other end if you do succeed, and you have to be willing to succeed. Now, this ties into what I said at the beginning of the video, being able to push yourself beyond what you think you are capable of. If you are able to push through your boundaries, push through your limits, then the sky is the limit in terms of your business capabilities and what you are able to achieve. And because Malawi is such a frontier in a sense, because there are not that many existing businesses, then the possibilities are endless for you. You can pretty much take over the game. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe if you found this useful. Please do let your friends know, share this as well, so the channel grows. Anyway, my name is Black Isco. You guys have been wonderful. I'll check you out again for another edition of my fiscal advice, literacy. I don't know what this is, but yeah, man, check you guys out later.